Hello and welcome to a look at Jumping Jackson for the Amiga. The plot of the game is that rock and roll has died, is dying, whatever thing, and been replaced by classical music. So Jumping Jackson, in order to revive course rock and roll to survive thing, has to go out and find the king of rock and roll's first cut, the first record ever released, which will restore rock and roll and happiness to music lovers even all over the world. Inherently, there's nothing wrong with classical music, but each his own. I suppose you need a plot for a game. The game, as you can probably gather so far, is a puzzle game, whereas Jumping Jackson has to cause certain colored records to spawn in order to beat the different levels. There will be patches of different colored squares, and Jumping Jackson's hair color will indicate what color he will apply to said square when he jumps on it. And by having a set of squares and the same color, they will spawn a record of a certain color, and you can put said record on a certain a similar colored record player in order to build up part of the beat of the music. And once all records has been put on the record players, you can exit the level and progress to the next. So far, so simple. As you navigate the different levels, obviously the game will become significantly more challenging, and you start to have to think quite ahead of what you are doing. Each level will have one or more teleporters, and these teleporters are connected, and working out which teleporter does what and how is something that needs to be learned. Of course, you could not have a game like this without having enemies, and the enemies you have are shown in the form of musical instruments, classical musical instruments, I should say. And of course, they don't like Jumping Jackson because he's trying to revive rock and roll, meaning that classical music will, of course, recede in the process because you can't have multiple music types at the same time. That is completely out of the question. Hmm. Regardless, you have a batch of cassette tapes, rock and roll cassette tapes that you can put down on normal empty squares in order to block the musical instruments from chasing you. You can find yourself easily getting into a situation where you lock yourself completely in. So even though you do have the cassette tapes, you can drop down to block the enemies. You still can't move because they're not going to move, and the only way forward for you is to either hope that there's a secret square somewhere that you can jump to, or jump into the enemy and accept losing a life. Now, the colored records, you can only carry one at a time. You can see the bottom left side, you have a jukebox, and it will show what color record you are currently carrying, but you can pick up more than, you can pick up extra jukeboxes, which will allow you to carry extra records. There are various different power-ups and bonuses and whatnot, and most of them are mainly point increasing objects. You will also, every so often, get to a bonus level in which you have to try and jump from the different objects in order to increase their size and not blocking yourself off. And if you fulfill the criteria set for the bonus level, you will be rewarded, or awarded I should say, the password, so you can progress from that stage onwards from the main menu by inputting the password. On the graphical side of things, I think this game looks very, very nice. The main character is a little cutie, and enemies are easily recognizable. You can see you're being chased by a trumpet, and whatever else you might be chased by. The record players are looking like record players, the jukeboxes are looking like jukeboxes, and you have an easy idea of what you want to pick up and what you don't want to pick up. Overall, color choice I think is well used, and the animation, of which there's not a ton perhaps, it functions. It doesn't have to be much more complex than it is. So definitely the graphical side, I have absolutely no complaints. Maybe not be the best, it may not be the best looking game ever devised, but at the same time, for what it needs to do, it does it perfectly well. Now, the sound department, of course, this is a game about rock and roll, and the music specifically needs to sort of live up to that idea. While I do find the musical tunes that you're basically building up per level to be quite funky, I do find they are more rock than roll, meaning that I find the tunes can be a bit on the harsh side, but they are definitely not bad. It's just the sound of them can be a bit coarse, perhaps. But the sound effects, the best sound effect is definitely when Jumpin' Jackson is protesting about something. It sounds very funky. But the rest of them, they are what they need to be. The spongy boing sound when you jump over the colored squares can be a bit annoying after a while, but it's there to inform you that your eyes are moving about, and in that regard, they do what they need to do. The gameplay. It is a puzzler, and as such, if you like puzzlers, there's a good chance you might get some enjoyment out of this. But if you don't like puzzlers, there's a good chance that this will still appeal to you in some way, shape, or form, if nothing else than to build up the rock and roll tunes and work out what you need, what you get to listen to, if that could be your cup of tea. There's something enchanting about this game. It can be at points very, very annoying and frustrating and devious, but it encourages you to learn the game mechanics better. It encourages you to memorize locations where the different teleporters take you, and of course, it also gives you the option to listen to some rather funky music. This is the challenge stage I was mentioning earlier, by the way. From a presentation point of view, I should mention that I do find the in-between level screens a bit almost cheap. I don't know what I was expecting from an in-between level screen, but it feels like it's extremely bare-boned, and as such, it doesn't, for me at least, earn any awards for a spectacular use of graphical display. I suppose at that time, at a certain point, those kind of routines were considered cool, but it is also rather basic. Outside of that, I don't have an awful lot more to say about this game, and especially not when my bird is going bonkers in the background. But for what it is very, very enjoyable. And if you like puzzle games or like listening to somewhat harsh, funky music, then there's definitely something to be gained from this. If nothing else, then get into a corner and try to jump off the side and hear Jumping Jackson complain about it can be a simple but present enjoyment. So on that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.